Surprise, surprise! Surprise, surprise! By the way, where is Andrew?
Guess where I am? Well, not a lot of guessing if you can read.
Sorry, young folks, I'm about to throw y'all under the bus.
Those three generations have been making withdrawals from the Black Bank of Justice and have not made reciprocal deposits.
I truly believe that our idea of America no longer exists.
He said, Black people individually are poor, collectively wealthy.
They were like, okay, we wanted y'all to overcome, but not overcome us.
And now it's like, oh my God, what the hell's happening? Because they took advantage of American apathy. This is literally a war for the next 100 years.
The beloved Howard University, for all the Howard people watching, HU.
Tiffany, what's the layup?
So congratulations to the
whoever won. Tiff, don't kill them at the end of the program.
You know why I did it? Because my mama and daddy did it, and they weren't Roland Martin.
I'm trying to do a call to action to send people to the platform. Be quiet.
You work your people too hard. It's 3 a.m. I'm like, we're not awake.
Roland.
Calm down.
Native Land Pod is a production of iHeartRadio in partnership with Reason Choice Media.
Welcome.
All right, welcome home, y'all. This is episode 74. Dang, it's episode 74 already.
We old.
I know, right? We getting old. Anyway, welcome to Native Land Pod, episode 74. I am here with my beautiful, wonderful co-host, Angela Rye. I was trying to beg her to be in New York with me today, but she is running all over trying to save the country. We are...
I'm not trying to save this country.
You are, absolutely. Well, you're trying to save us.
The people.
You're trying to save us.
Now you got me.
Yes. And we, I think, disproportionately uphold democracy in this country. So we thank you for your service. And then where's our other co-host? Where is Andrew?
Andrew! Where are you?
What's up? Angela, Tiffany, my man, Roro. Thank you, brother, for filling in for me. Guess where I am? Well, not a lot of guessing if you can read. That's NASA behind me. Yes, those amazing twin rockets that are so symbolic of being NASA. I can't be with y'all on the show today live because I am chaperoning my twins' 5th grade overnight field trip. And Angela, Tiff, Ro, you know there was not going to be an overnight trip with my daughter that I wasn't going to be on. So there it is. This is where we at. I miss y'all, and I'll see you in a few. Have a good show, y'all.
Aww.
Man, where are the kids?
They're around.
I thought that they were... I wanted to see my niece and nephew. Where was Caroline and Jackson? Andrew, I didn't want to see you.
Well,
you want to skip out for work. I want to see my nephew and my niece, man.
So what are we talking about today? What you got, Angela?
So I want to talk about something that we began to discuss on the solo pod, which is why white folks are so scared of Black history. We're seeing that with the executive order on the Smithsonian complex, as well as with what happened with the National Park Service website. So I want to talk about that and how we fight back.
I love that. Well, I want to get into, there was a report that came out about the dearth of Black men at HBCUs, but it's really across all higher education. So I want to get into that. So you guys stay tuned for that. But as you heard from Andrew.
Wait, you know what else, Tiff? We also need to talk about MABA. It's Make America Broke Again with these doggone tariffs.
The tariffs.
Yeah,
yes,
so we got to get into MABA. We should
that.
start calling them MABA, though, for
MABA.
real.
Yeah, you just came up with something. MABA. Let's introduce that to the lexicon. Yes, we got to get into the tariffs.
And speaking of introduction.
Yes, Andrew spoiled it, but we are joined by the amazing Roland Martin today.
And Angela, I know you look like you at an Atlanta brunch spot with that background.
That's right.
So that's where you at. Let's
I'm
go
in
ahead.
Seattle. This is where I always record, and that just demonstrates you don't watch our show. Maybe you'll watch today.
Maybe you got no levity because the point was like the wall, the brunch spots. They have all the walls.
Yes,
people love Angela's background.
I'm clear. But at the same time, so to break up some of this, what I do want to say is, in addition to hosting Roland Martin Unfiltered, Roland has also launched an app for the Black Star Network, has a channel, YouTube channel, killing it. For many of us, Roland is where we started doing TV. And Roland has been a lifelong journalist, literally reporting on breaking news since he was in high school. And that is still his passion to this day. So we are very thankful for your contributions to the culture, to facts and fact checking, to debunking all of the myths out here, and just making sure that Black people feel like there's hope, knowing what the path forward could be and how we can navigate tyranny and fascism. So we appreciate your service and thank you for all of the many pathways and ladders that you provided for folks in our community. We're very grateful.
Appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Yes, there is hope. There's always hope. And we are shooting this. And this, is one of those things when you talk about this week. April 9th is the 127th birthday of the great Paul Robeson, one of our greatest. Oh, wow,
your frat brother.
We Alpha Man, but we rarely ever mention him when we talk about civil rights activists, warriors, freedom fighters, and he truly is one of those folks. And also this week in Black History, yesterday, April 8th. April 8th was the day Hank Aaron broke the Major League record. We often talk about April 15th being Jackie Robinson Day, but I think we should make April 8th an annual Hank Aaron Day, and God rest the souls of both of those brothers.
I love that, Ro. Thank you for all that Black history. You are a walking Black history. All right, well, let's get into it. So let's kick off the show. Welcome home, y'all. All right. One thing I want to talk about that's been heavy on my heart, and Angela, you touched on this in your solo pod this week, and that is the Blacksonian. I am very concerned about this administration setting their sights on the Blacksonian. We won't get too deep into it because I want to encourage everybody, please watch Angela's solo pod because she did, the national parks and walks you through it. But I just want to say I'm willing to lay my body down in front of that building. Like we can't tolerate it. The Board of Regents met this week. I think it was reported that J.D. Vance was there, but I am not certain.
He didn't go.
He didn't go. Good. Mm-mm. That is good news because we don't want him at the Board of Regents meeting. But what is the latest with that? What do people listening need to be concerned about? And what can we do to save this wonderful institution? When I say the Blacksonian, for our listeners who may not know, I'm of course talking about the National Museum of African American History and Culture, a 100+ year long project. It is our piece of history that is on the National Mall in the nation's capital of Washington, D.C. If you've been one time or if you've been 20 times, it's not enough. It is a spiritual experience to go. The basement is intentionally tight and small. And it takes you through history as you go, as you ascend in the museum, and it's tight and small on purpose to give you the feeling as best we can of what Middle Passage was like. So I'm very concerned, but Angela, give us the latest.
Yeah, I just want to say that I think it's really important for people to understand, especially for our diverse audience of listeners and viewers, that this isn't just an attack on NMAHC. It is also an attack on all aspects of the Smithsonian, which includes 21 museums and a complex of research entities, science-based entities, educational grants, and also the museum properties in and of themselves. So what we're up against right now with this executive order that Donald Trump introduced on March 27th is that attack. They talk about woke indoctrination. There are terms that they use as a points of question that have been resolved when you look at historical facts. I don't know where I've had the executive order printed out. Maybe this is it. Yeah, this is it. So they talk about being frustrated with the prior administration for sponsoring training by an organization that advocates dismantling Western foundations and interrogating institutional racism, as if we shouldn't be doing that, right? And so what I talked about yesterday mostly was the fact that we are not just dealing with people who are trying to disrupt what we know, trying to destroy history, but also trying to get rid of any form of accountability. I think ultimately what this gets down to is, can they destroy what we know to be fact about history enough so that they are not accountable for reparations, restorative payments, restorative justice, equity, and equitable outcomes? And can they get us to stop saying things like, racism still exists. The places where elected officials last cycle were stuttering and stumbling over themselves, not to say that America is a racist country. It is, and it still is in Project 2025 and in this 2025. So that is, I think, where we are. You can certainly lay your body on the line and in front of a building, but what we really have to understand is the places that have been deemed rightfully ours, the small portions that are the fractions of what we actually deserve are rightfully ours. We need to fight for all of that. They're even saying that the Martin Luther King monument, because it's on federal land, could be moved, could be destroyed. They could try to get rid of it. And I'm interested to see them even try, because you know they love to take that content of your character line out of context. So with that, I'll defer to you, Ro, and hear your thoughts about what next steps people can offer. They're saying that in some instances, they will return people's donations. They've done that with other quasi-government entities. And so why wouldn't they do this here? Does it matter for us to tell people to raise money right now? Should we be telling people to become members of the Smithsonian with all that's on the line? What is the best way for us to preserve this, given that we have seen one successful fight with the National Park Service, at least putting Harriet's picture back up, at least acknowledging that the Underground Railroad exists. Or existed. So I want to hear from you, Ro. What do you think about next steps?
So I think what folks have to understand is that, I'm actually bring it back and come forward. That is one, as you said, Project 2025 laid all of this out. What you have here, all of this is an absolute response to 2020, the murder of George Floyd, and the response to it. Their greatest fear is the next generation of white folks waking up to the reality of what America really and truly has been about. So in 2021, they attacked Black Lives Matter. 2022, they attacked critical race theory. 2023, they attacked woke. 2024, they attacked DEI, all by design. It is to completely eradicate the Black economic and civil rights infrastructure and all that comes underneath that. So civil rights, economics, now you talk about history, now you talk about institutions, now you can drill further down, you could talk about HBCUs, we talk about Black-owned businesses. And so this is really what the master plan is. And so our response, as far as I'm concerned, has been haphazard. As how I see this, I fundamentally believe that our civil rights organizations have been, frankly, asleep at the wheel, have not provided adequate leadership in this moment as to what we should be doing. The people who are fighting valiantly are the lawyers. So you have the legal deal. So you got all these different fronts. We have to approach this like a war. When you have a war, you don't only fight a battle in one spot. There's a front here, 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 and here. So you have the legal front. And so, listen, I love Southern Soul. I'm always dancing. But what I understand is this is not a moment of rest. We must be sitting here saying, how do we protect what is local in our neighborhoods, in our cities, states, then nation? Because their goal is to go after all of that. And so what we need to be saying is, okay, what's my place? So all of these folks who gathered on Saturday with Indivisible, I certainly support that. But my concern is not 500,000 or 1 million or 2 million who gather on a Saturday. What are those 500,000, million, 2 million doing on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday? And that's really where we are. And so I need people to understand this is not something that's just about next week or next month or next year, or, well, the Democrats win the House, then no. This is literally, and I have been saying this since 2009, when I was on CNN and speeches on Tom Joyner, this is literally a war for the next 100 years. And we have to approach it that way. And this is not a moment for Black people to be checking out. This is a moment for us to be strapping up.
You know, Angela, we should talk about this later because Angela and I were, before the show, we were chatting a bit about meeting the moment. Angela did a Substack on ways people can meet the moment, so be sure to check that out. But also, we talked about people like complaining, and like, how can you meet the moment? So maybe we'll do that on our mini pod, but I really appreciate your point, Ro, about what we have to do. And I love your multi-pronged approach, protect your local community, protect your state, protect the country. Like, it does have to bubble up. I'm a little concerned, though, because, I think this is not the mess we created. So I do understand Black folks feeling like, you know what, hands up, like, y'all got it. I saw some pictures of when all the protests were happening, and it was like pictures of Black people eating brunch and, a whole array of people who don't look like us protesting. And it was a diverse coalition of people. It just wasn't a lot of Black people out there. And
that's fine.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah, I agree.
Let them do that. But while they are doing that, we also doing our own stuff.
Yes.
I'm just saying it can't be all rest all day, 7 days a week.
No.
I agree. Yeah. I appreciate your point. Go ahead, Angela.
That is really frustrating to me because I'm trying to figure out how I really don't, honestly, sorry, young folks, I'm about to throw y'all under the bus because I think most of this narrative is and it's not all young people. Shout out to Lolo and Chloe and Jael and Janae.
I was just about to say, we got a bunch of young people on the line.
Mary, Pat Hector,
yes,
Victoria, shout out to all y'all. I ain't talking about y'all. Jarius, let me throw some young men in there.
Well, the audience don't know who we talking about, but we're saying the people who doing the work.
They know I'm naming young people right now. What I want to say, though, is for their cousins, I'm tired of y'all because I don't know what you think about the Montgomery bus boycotts and the fact that it took over a year. I don't know what you think when you consider the 1964 Civil Rights Act was what's the word I'm trying to say? The result of
the culmination.
Yes, that's the word. You saw me praising.
Listen, our executive producer Lauren is off camera, completing your sentences. She's like culmination.
I was like, what is this word? This word.
She understood the culmination.
The culmination of decades-long work. There's a reason why there was a Civil Rights Act of 1866. A lot of folks were talking recently about the Civil Rights Act of 1957 that Strom Thurmond was filibustering against, the record that Cory Booker broke for Senate floor debate. The reason for that is because those were the pillars. Those were the foundation. The 13th Amendment, the 14th Amendment, those were the pillars of the foundation that became the civil rights movement. So it is ridiculous for us to think that in a moment like this, where all of our rights are on the line, and I would argue, quite frankly, even the Equal Protection Clause, even the 14th Amendment is on the line, why would we now say, child, that's on y'all? No, it's not. I am not putting my salvation, liberation, or life in the hands of white folks. I already know what they're going to do. I'm not talking about allies and accomplices.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the ones that are seeking to steal, kill, and destroy and have been doing that for 2 months and have been effective at dismantling and erasing a lot of our progress in 2 months. I'm not about to let them fight that battle on our own, and I'm not about to be talking about resting. Let me tell y'all how I'm resting right now. I'm waking up in the middle of the night like, what I forget to do. That's how I'm resting right now, right?
I want to talk about that though,
right? But I'm not suggesting that that's everybody's call or response to the moment.
Right.
What I am saying is, do your breath work and then get your ass up.
Yeah.
Take a nap and then go fight.
Let me
get your 8 hours if you can take your 8 hours. But for some of us, because of the age we're at, we don't get to sleep like that no more. Do what you got to do, but then get up. You have a role to play. We not all playing the same role. We don't all feel the same part, but you still got to do something. All right, y'all trying to interrupt
I know, sorry. Before I come to you, Ro, I just want to say real quick to Angela, a lot of our comments are people concerned. They're like, how is Angela? We want Angela to rest. So that people do make comments about the importance of your rest. But I appreciate your point that you're still out there, and I'm coming to you. But I just want to make that point because so many people are always asking me personally, or they leave comments on YouTube. Yes, I read y'all's comments.
Y'all don't know when it's time for me to rest because I literally will get on here screaming and crying. And then y'all should say, please go take a nap, lay your ass down. It has happened before.
Yes, but you got to rest before that.
But I'm saying,
we need our faithful.
I don't feel like the gospel song. I don't feel no,
No
ways
ways
tired
tired.
right now. I am
Yes.
energized right now. This
Yeah.
isn't
Right.
my season of rest. This is my season of action. You follow your season, but I'm telling y'all that are feeling that your time to rest and be in a Sabbath and to be on a sabbatical, I'm telling you, y'all not reading the room, and I'm telling you it ain't the Holy Ghost that's talking to you. It's something else. Maybe heartburn, maybe frustration, but y'all listening to
Yeah.
the wrong signals. Bro, I'm listening.
Bro, I just want to
So-
say your frat brother, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., was 26 years old when he led the Montgomery bus boycott. This is a young person's movement. What you got?
Yeah.
So so all that is absolutely correct. But I'm going to put it another way. And I did a whole video of this in my show.
Oh, he got a pin out. This about to be good.
No. I had it. So this is
okay.
what I need. This is what I need. I need everybody who's listening, who's watching to truly understand this. Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z. This is the generations that are what I call post-civil rights movement babies. Those three generations have been making withdrawals from the Black Bank of Justice and have not made reciprocal deposits.
Mm.
Now follow me.
Say it again. Say it
Now, hold
damn
up.
again.
Now follow me. I'm not going to talk about the federal laws. I need people to really understand what I'm talking about. The reason we're where we are today, because there was a generation of Black people, baby boomers, who went to the city council meetings, went to the school board meetings, went to the county commissioners meetings, sued to get single member districts, created the MWBE programs. That generation did the groundwork, not in Washington, D.C., but in cities across the country, in neighborhoods across the country. They fought for funding of our parks, repavement of our streets. My parents never went to college, but they were co-founders of the Clinton Park Civic Club. So I witnessed this at the age of 9 all the way through. The problem is my dad, in a few weeks, will be 78. My mom will be 78 in November. They are tired. My parents were precinct. They worked elections. My mom was a precinct. She was a precinct judge. They retired last year from working elections. They worked campaigns, phone banks, putting up signs, all those different things. So we are here because those people did all of that work while we get to reap the benefits. So now the question is, which is what Angela was talking about, which is what Tiffany's talking about, where are our deposits? Where are our deposits in the Bank of Black Justice for the next generation? What we've done is withdraw. And right now, the balance is real low, and in some places, it's a negative balance. And that's the problem. And so, y'all, the people y'all named, those
Y'all
people are actually
overdrew
doing
the
it.
damn bank. You overdrew the bank.
overdrawn.
Precisely. And so people are sitting now, it's like, well, let them do it. Hell no. Because right now, too many Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z are still asking baby boomers to do the work. They're still asking for baby boomers to go to the march, to play in the march. They're still asking for baby boomers to go down to the council meeting. No, this is the moment where your ass must step up. And that's the issue. When Tiffany brought Dr. King up, 25 years old, Montgomery bus boycott, but it was Joanne Robinson and the women of Montgomery who actually conceived the idea of the boycott. King and those folks were following after A. Philip Randolph. And so it was a generational thing. But we cannot continue to ask baby boomers who are now in their 70s and 80s to keep doing the work while we sit our ass at brunch, while we hang out, or we take multiple vacations, or while we check out of the process and sit down on the couch. The reason Black voter turnout is down is not because we just checked out. It's because the Black infrastructure going door to door, precincts, voter mobilization, those people are retired or they died. And we have to somehow wake the hell up and realize now is our time. You've been bitching about the baton. Now it's time for your ass to run the race.
Well, and then here's the thing. We have some folks, too, that are interested in running very different races, right? Like, there are some folks that are like, I'm about that money, man. That's what I'm talking about. Like, at all times, I only want to talk about what my economics look like. Don't necessarily understand how the politics of things impact your economics. For example, I know we're going to hit tariffs. That has everything to do with your economics, you know, micro and macro. We have folks that only want to focus on breathe. I want you to be with me in this breath. Just be in your soft girl era. That's nice, bitch. I can't wait to arrive.
Yeah.
And also, this soft girl got some tough fights, right? So there are these things, and I'm not dogging any of those intersections. What I'm daring you to believe is that so long as we exist in a democracy, we still have to hold up the pillars of that thing or work constructively to dismantle the thing. And what the thing that I think is so important is we have a lot of ideas, and too many of us do not get in the streets, don't go door to door road. To your point, even if they're not asking you to go vote, how are you feeling? What issues are you having? Where do you need relief? Like, that's part of what we want to do with the State of the People tour. We have been talking a lot and not listening at all. We have not asked people what their most basic needs are, and we've been sending them to the government that now is telling you to hell with what you paid into. We actually aren't going to provide your most basic needs. So we're getting back down to the basics of what African culture has always taught us, and that is to look out for self. That does not mean that you should relinquish your responsibility to a system that is supposed to be there to serve you, particularly when you pay into that system. But it does mean that we are no longer in a position to rely on this thing to meet our most basic needs, despite the fact that it should. If it doesn't, what do we do? And that is where we need to be right now.
When I travel the nation and people go, man, bro, what we gonna do?
Right.
This is literally what I say. And this is what Ella Baker said. This is literally what I'd say to every person. What are the three things you care about? They go,
that's good.
They go, what you mean? I said, what are the three things you care about? And they look at me, they're like, economics. Okay. What about economics? See, I forced them to drill down. Where they go, education. Okay. So a guy was like, education. I said, are you a parent? Yeah. You got a kid in school? Yes. What grade? Told me the grade. I said, you in the PTA? No.
Get to them school board meetings too.
I said, can you explain? I said, I need you to explain to me. How do you care about the education of your child, but you're not in the PTA, but you want somebody else to be advocating for the changes in your school and your district? I said, I'm trying to. And then what ends up happening is I'm forcing them to have to buy into the game. What we like to do is we like to sit here and somebody posted a video yesterday of an uncle going off on his son and his nephew who are both 17 because they can't spell. And he's going off on them. No, I'm going off on his ass. Because how could you be the dad of a son and the uncle of a son and 17 years went by and your punk ass don't know they can't spell? See, I can't make demands of somebody else if I'm not doing it myself.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this though. So there are two things that you raised that I think are important for us to wrestle with, even from, and this is where me and Tiff normally fight, the compassion and empathy side of this, right? So somebody says, you're like, well, you should be at these meetings. Some of our folks feel like they are so unheard and so invisible that it won't matter if they show up to that. So how do we get them to a point where they feel like that matters? The other thing you said was, we need to buy in. I'm trying to get them to buy into the game. The second part of my question is, should we be buying into the game or should we be advocating to change the rules so the game works for us?
Okay, so the first thing. So, because I'm a fundamental believer of going micro, macro, not macro, micro.
Yeah.
So if I am concerned about education, my wife and I've raised 6 of my nieces. We're driving in the car. When we're in the car longer than 15 minutes, y'all got to be reading a book. Oh, you got to read out loud because I need to hear you pronounce words. Okay. So that's micro. That's in my house. Now, when a teacher said something to my niece about one of her portraits, and all of a sudden my niece, Annabert, was now questioning things. She never questioned stuff. We were like, hold up, well, her spirit has changed. Well, what the hell happened? Oh, we went to the school, got that teacher removed. Then it was like, okay, then we're going to the school board. So it was level. All right, so that's one. Then the second piece is, if I want to change something, Dr. King said this is April 3rd, 1968 speech, Black people individually are poor at Mason Temple, the last sermon he gave. He said, Black people individually are poor, collectively wealthy. You as an individual have limited power. You as a collective have a lot more power. We have to be willing to say, and when I say collective doesn't mean, well, we called a meeting and we invited 100 people and 8 showed up. Well, guess what? Talk to the 8, tell the 8 to bring one person next month. Now we got 16. We have to get people to understand that you do have power, but you have power if you begin to say, let me work and talk with others in my own neighborhood. I believe house, street, block, neighborhood, city, state, nation, as opposed to top down.
Right.
Dr. King was like, so I need everybody watching, you can do something, but stop trying to change 5 things. I need you to pick one thing you care about and say, I'm gonna work on that one thing and start there. But I need you to start somewhere.
Well, let me just say, I think, because we've been highly critical of younger people and people in general. And I don't want the audience to think this is criticism. It is a call to arms, a call to action.
Yeah.
And I just want to acknowledge that never, like the times of the Montgomery bus boycott were different. That's not excusing young people. Like I echo everything Angela and Ro have said, but there has never been a time in global history where we have had this much access to so much information at our fingertips. And I've said here before, we are asking people to care about everything and they wind up caring about nothing. So what the level of discipline that this takes is to filter your feed, not just your social media feed, but filter your time and what you're doing. Another thing I say all the time is everybody say what I would have been doing during the civil rights movement. Whatever you're doing is what you're doing. That's what you would have been doing during the civil rights movement. So you have to be intentional and think about how history will remember you in this time. Ro, you talked about...
I didn't say young people. I didn't say young people.
I know, I'm saying, but that was the original...
I got to pivot, Tiff. I want you to answer this because Roland used as an example his response to his nieces and how they got the teacher, or his niece, and how they got the teacher removed. There's somebody at home who's going to hear that and say, but that's Roland Martin. Right? That is someone who they feel like they have to respond to. I want us to just peel back a layer on what it means to be empowered, even if you're not Roland Martin going to the school.
You know why I did it? Because my mama and daddy did it, and they weren't Roland Martin.
Right.
My mama and daddy worked for Amtrak. Mama worked at an insurance company and claims. They weren't on television. They weren't on radio. But they cared about their children. I witnessed them pushing teachers. I remember one teacher called the house and she was complaining about, me in the classroom. My dad was like, I'm sorry, is it your job to run your classroom? And so I witnessed that. So all I'm saying is, if we care about something, and this is not even,
I just pause 1 second because this is what I'm trying to get us to think of. There are points of privilege that we have. You were raised in a 2-parent household with parents who were and that's not bad, that's great. 2-parent household, parents who were active in politics, active in your schooling, had jobs that were keeping the lights on, right? That's not everybody's testimony. Right? Similar background, but also went to private school 1st through 12th grade and then went back for law school. So that's not, our experiences aren't everybody's experience. So Tiff, for the person who comes from a different set of circumstances, where can they call on their power if they didn't see it at home? If they don't see it in their community, where do they go? What do they do? How
Yeah.
do they respond?
I appreciate you drawing that distinction and that difference, because it is a point of privilege to you
Yeah.
know, the way that some people grew up. I'll quote Alice Walker here and just say the most common way people give up their power is by thinking they don't have any. And even as an individual, you have power. I left home when I was 16 years old, and let me just say, I had an issue with our forever FLOTUS, our beautiful, wonderful First Lady, Michelle Obama, but she gave a speech to Baltimore students, and she was essentially saying, like, the schools may be a problem, teachers may be a problem, but it's still up to you. Like, you have to make change. And I remember at the time thinking, well, that's kind of a challenging thing to tell students, you know, who are suffering from every pinpoint in their life, and they're navigating a very challenging system, to bypass this system that you don't even understand as a child, fix it, and then somehow be successful. Or when you go into classrooms and you say, you can be anything you want. And a lot of people are literally asking, no, but how do I get from here to there? What do I wake up tomorrow and do? I did a talk with Colin Kaepernick, and I asked him this question about investing, you know, like what, you know, you're saying this, you have access to all these funders. Like, what is the person who has a great idea who doesn't have anything? And he said, you can literally say in the chat GPT, how do I, and fill in the blank. How do I protest? How do I influence a law? How do I participate in a city council meeting? When is the next city council meeting? When is the next school board meeting? So I would say, to Roland's point, whatever it is that you care about, you do have some power. What I've suggested on this show before, if you, and this is not necessarily for people under 18, this is for adults and young adults, you will be surprised if you get, the next time y'all talking about having a cookout or just gathering folks, you get 20 people in your house, you can get a member of Congress. You get 20 people in your house, you can get somebody running for the state senate. You get 20 people in your house, you can get a council member. They want to go where the people are. And you say, I have people here who want to hear from you. That is organizing. That is, and grassroots doesn't mean that you have to be poor. Grassroots means I'm organizing in my neighborhood. And you can gather people, come up with your list of demands.
And that's why, right there, because that's when I was talking about privileged two parents, a bunch of those folk who joined my parents for Civic Club, they were single parents.
Yeah.
But this is how basic I want to make this thing. And again, folks, this is very basic, because this is literally how the Civic Club started. If you were in your neighborhood and you said, man, I'm sick and tired of all this damn litter in my neighborhood. Okay, you talking to your neighbor and y'all go, man, it's a damn shame we got all this litter. All right, the two of you say, we gonna ask 5, 6 other people, are you sick of the same thing? Yeah. Next Saturday, we're going to do a street cleanup. We don't have to ask permission. We don't have to call the city, the state, the federal government. We're going to get some trash bags. We're going to clean this street up. Now, you may sit here and say, okay, what the hell does that got to do with anything? Because what then happens is somebody says, well, man, next month we should clean up 2 streets. We should do 4 streets. What happened with my parents, it started, that's exactly how it started. Then they were like, well, man, what do we do about these overgrown lots, these empty houses? Well, we don't own the house. Boom. Somebody with the city, that's how they got it cut. Then it was like, well, how do we get rid of these potential crack houses? How do you now begin to mark abandoned buildings? Then that thing began to go. Then they went, well, you know what? We need some new streets, and we need some new street lights, and we need this, that, and the other. Ask a city council person. It's a bond election. Boom. Bond election. So guess what happened? Park get refurbished, new streets, new lights, new sewer system. But it started with trash.
Right. Yeah.
And all I'm saying for people is there are things that we can do to begin to affect change that doesn't require permission from anybody. It requires somebody saying, man, we need to change this. And that's what I am simply saying. More of us need to say, what do I care about to change this? And stop waiting for somebody to come with the fix. You literally are the fix.
Well, I would just add to that I think first, before we even get to that, there are some people that simply must believe. We have to give people something to believe in. And there are
But
a lot of people.
You start with just, I hate trash.
Yes, but some people are
Talk to your
like,
neighbor. You agree?
But Ro, my point is that there are not. Sometimes people don't even have the spirit to hate trash. Some people say, "I didn't seen that piece of trash or all this trash in my neighborhood." Right?
Yes.
That's just background to me. We have to give people the power to tap into their imagination. What does democracy look like if you get to shape it, if you get to draw it, if you get to speak it? Now there are some levels. There are levels to it. There are some people who already believe and they just need direction. But there is an underbelly, I think, of society that's apathetic and has just backed out.
I don't want them to care about something.
Right,
but
Ro, I'm agreeing with you. We have to give people something to care about.
I agree.
Yeah. So
we
we
remind them of what it was. I was so interested when you were saying you asked people what are the 3 things they care about. I'm like, I want to hear all those answers. And also, I was thinking, Tiff, when you were talking about Colin saying you can say this in Chat GPT, some people don't have phones that can get to Chat GPT, and that's the only electronic device they have. We got Black folks throughout the South who don't have access to broadband internet, and this MF in the White House is cutting access even more.
Yeah,
so we literally have to, in this moment, I would stretch us to say, let us keep thinking about solutions that aren't through the lens of our default, which normally is the blind spot of our points of privilege, whatever they may be. Like, how do we go and get the least of these? Like what are those ways? I don't have the answer, but I do want us to think about.
I think that's a question for the audience, and I would love for the audience. Y'all drop us a line, drop us a comment on YouTube, on our Instagram, wherever you follow us, and let us know your thoughts there. Ro, you made a really good point about young people making withdrawals and not making deposits, and I want to talk a little bit because some of us gonna have some overdraws coming up soon with these tariffs. And I think a lot of people, it's been kind of blanketed on the walls of cable news in their coverage. But just for our folks to know, tariffs they're basically a tax brought in, placed on foreign goods that are brought into the country. And it's usually a tax based on the value of whatever you are importing into the United States. I'm going to talk a little bit about this on the other side, but first, we have a very unique and special correspondent. We have pulled her video because she does a great job of breaking this down. Angela found this video and sent it to me, and I loved it. So let's take a listen to her, and then we'll pick back up on the other side.
Hello, and welcome back. A lot of you all have said, Rashonda, you're not a mixing spoon, but you stay stirring things up. And to that I say, thank you. Today, we're here to discuss something that has a lot of you all confused, but I'm here to help. It's really very simple. Let's check the board. The word of the day is tariff. 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 A lot of you all are confused on exactly what this word means. Tariff equals tax. It is a tax imposed by the government on goods and services imported from other countries, okay? America is a country. So is Canada and Mexico. They are all in North America, but they are different countries, okay? All right. We also have countries outside of North America, like China, where we get 99.9% of our items, okay? You all are confused on a lot of things. We have big items like cars, computers, iPhones, houses over here that need to be built. Okay, those things are made up of smaller things that we get from other countries. Okay, and you're wondering who's going to pay this tax? The answer is you, right? Because everything's going to go up. This is what is happening. All right. Do you all know that on a highway, when there's an accident, it slows down everybody? Many people are injured. Some people die. And then you get up there and find out that somebody was playing chicken with a Mack truck. That is what America is doing with these other countries. And it's affecting all of us. The stock is down because people are scared to purchase items. They want to save money. Okay? They understand that everything's going to go up because of this. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? Big things are made of small things. We get many small things that you all don't even think about from various different places. Okay? This is a tariff. Say it with me. Tariff is a tax, and we will pay for it. Pay attention. Thanks.
All right. So she does such a great job explaining that. I want to give a little bit of context, though, because this really will directly hit your pocketbook if it hasn't already. This really is about tensions with China. China is our biggest trading partner. And this is Donald Trump, like our wonderful reporter just said there. This is Donald Trump playing a game of chicken. And China has said, verbatim, China has said, look, we ain't troublemakers, but we will not flinch when trouble comes our way. Now, I want you all to understand why this impacts you. China is integral for things that we use here, like smartphones, computers, lithium-ion batteries, toys, video games, even things like screws and other certain kind of batteries. We have been having tension with China for a long time. At root of that tension is trade, of course, which is where these tariffs come from, the status of Taiwan, which is established as an independent nation, and there's beef around that. Beijing's claim to the South China Sea, this is a huge point of contention for the U.S., and the ongoing U.S. push against growing Chinese influence in the Indo-Pacific region. These tariffs will not just impact the Asian economies. They're going to hit us directly. China and the U.S. are trading partners. They're our biggest trading partner. We imported $438 billion worth of goods from China last year. The U.S. exported to China $143 billion in 2024. Our foreign policy hawks here have been warning and sounding the alarm on China, but I want you all to understand that what happens globally impacts what happens here domestically. This is a standoff. If China is saying, "Nuck if you buck," and Donald Trump is saying, "Well, I'm ready to nuck," I don't know where this goes. What I do know is who will pay the cost, and that is us, the consumer. If we were to manufacture smartphones here, they would cost around $3,500. We have some of the cleanest, nicest working conditions here in the country. CEOs will find a way to pass that cost on to the consumer. We will not have it. Even Lauren, what did you say?
Yes.
Slide over here so they can see you.
I'm squeezing in.
Lauren is our EP.
Slide over.
I went to buy a new microphone.
Yeah.
This is last Thursday, April 3rd. And it cost me $60 more than it would have had I gone in a week before. It's from Germany, so it's already a European affected tariff tax situation.
So how much was it total?
You don't even want to know.
Oh.
It's embarrassing.
Well,
I want to know.
$340.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
So obviously first world production problems, but
that gives an example.
No. Here's what I think we have to understand.
Bro, you're not about getting a tech head, are you?
No, I'm not. No, it's a money. The United States economy is $30 trillion a year. China's economy is $19 trillion a year. The United States is the largest economy in the world. But 70% of the United States economy is consumer spending. 70%. Why is that important? Because when you talk about, and this is where Americans have to start having a real conversation with themselves. What is Walmart's phrase? Low prices. We love cheap goods.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is, companies love maximizing profits. You want cheap goods? I'm gonna maximize profit. I gotta produce things at places where I don't pay them a living wage. We have to understand exactly what this economy is. Now, frankly, I believe what Trump is doing with tariffs is insider trading.
Mm-hmm.
I believe with what's going on is that, and we saw this, Marjorie Taylor Greene made some purchases right before the tariffs were announced. I believe that there are a group of people who are stock market tanks. They can swoop in, grab significant portions of these companies at lower prices. Look what's already happened. Yeah. Trump goes, "Oh, I'm kicking these tariffs in." How many times has he now backed down? He's now backed down again. "Oh, I'm going to wait 90 days. So we went through multiple days of stock market dropping, which means stocks are now cheaper. Mm-hmm. If you had a stock that was $100 and it's now $70, hell, I could buy that at 70, better than I could buy that at 100. What did Lauren just say? I bought a microphone this week higher than I got it last week. Well, the stocks, now they're lower. These people are playing an economic game. This is an administration that is about oligarchs, billionaires. They don't give a damn about working class people and all these idiots. And I'm going to call them idiots who voted for Trump, who are running around going, oh, he's a Christian. I just love him. That man does not care. He does not care. Well, I've seen one of the videos. They're like, I love me some Trump. That man's a Christian. He care about us working people. No, he don't. He wouldn't let y'all ass walk through one of his hotels. This is about the raping and pillaging of the economy. And the people who say, well, oh, yeah, I saw this clip, Fox and Friends, Lawrence Jones. Oh, man, he, and all these people, he care about the regular people. No, he don't. These people Trump is the vehicle by which they are deriving benefit. Elon, the contracts, Doge, slash stuff left and right, has nothing to do with the working people. And this is a byproduct of what happens when we say earlier, when we check out, we sit on the couch, and now it's like, oh my God, what the hell's happening? Because they took advantage of American apathy.
Mm-hmm.
We're headed towards a
that's
recession.
What's going on right now.
I don't know how we avoid a recession. What'd you say, Angela?
I said on roller skates.
Yeah. Like all the lights are flashing like this. And, I take your point, Ro, about the stocks. And I think that's one of my challenges, too, about the media. They talk about the economy as though it's the markets, and that is not.
Well, that's because it's sports. You got to remember. You got to understand sports. America loves sports.
Well, I do. I understand sports. So say more.
No, oh Lord. No,
wait a minute. Hold on, Roland, real quick. Let me just ask Tiff. Tiff, are you excited about the Final Four, the NCAA championship results?
I'm so excited about that. I have so many thoughts on it.
Hold on. No, we go on to the next row. Who won the girls' game and who won the men's game?
First of all, the road to get there for the women and the men was everywhere you went, people were talking about it. So I don't have to say who won because the audience obviously knows who won. But I just want to say they played their hearts out. Okay,
because
I watched both teams. The women played their hearts out. And the men played their hearts out. So congratulations to the
whoever won.
And I'm so excited for you guys. Come on Native Land and talk to us about it.
Angela, you know what that sounds like? Remember you were in college when you had to have a word minimum or a page minimum for a paper, and then you ain't had nothing to say, so you start adjusting the margins and the type and the font in order to create.
Well, you don't know who won either.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Connecticut beat our girl downstate.
Connecticut beat South Carolina.
And then Houston.
And Florida beat the University of
Houston beat. Yes.
No.
Lost.
No. It's the other way around, Tip. Houston lost to University of Florida, and we know that Ro is not happy about that. I actually was rooting for the black coach too, just so you know. Calvin used to coach at Washington State. Kelvin, I'm sorry, used to coach at Washington State, and he is the oldest coach to have ever made it to a championship game. So it's sad that he didn't.
On the men's side. On the men's side,
yes.
Who were you rooting for on the ladies' side?
I was rooting for Don.
Yeah.
So the Connecticut coach, when they won, he became the oldest coach to ever win a championship on the women's side.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say that, but go ahead.
He won a dozen now, 12.
Yeah.
He didn't need to win no more.
So I brought up sports. This is what you have to understand when it comes to the economy. It's stock market's up, stock market's up, stock market's up, stock market's up. That's how they had the conversation. I remember when I was at CNN and I would go on these business shows. And Allie Velshi would invite me on the show. And why Allie liked to invite me because I talk like a regular person. And they would be sitting here and I'm like, y'all don't nobody talk about stuff like the way y'all do. So that whole thing is designed. CNBC, Bloomberg, Fox Business, it's designed to go, it's up and up and up and up, as opposed to talking about what's actually really happening, what's going on here. That's not what it is about cheerleading. It's about cheerleading. And you're not going to see any of these business shows put on the table, what the hell, is this being deliberate? What is going on here? And so we have to understand, these people are playing an economic game at a level that's far above the average person. When you've got the average family, when you look at the median average income of an individual plus as a family, these folks are playing the 0.2% at the top. And they're using the rest of folks as pawns. And the problem economically is people, oh, Trump's a great businessman, ignoring bankruptcies, ignoring people who he still owes money. Hell, he's trying to do a $90 million military parade. He actually still owes Washington, D.C. for that ridiculous fireworks display when he was in there last time. So
a military
they
parade that happens to fall on his 79th birthday, by the way.
So they bought into the hype. And if there's one thing, and I hate to give them any credit, but the reality is this here, which is a lesson Democrats have to learn. And we're seeing this even with the deportation and all that sort of stuff like that. They are his administration is being produced like a television show.
Mm-hmm.
And what they are doing is they are establishing and creating a narrative. Tim Reed, the great actor, director, had a meeting with Bill Paley when he was on the show Frank's Reed. And Paley was asking him about his show. And he said, "What's your propaganda focus?" Tim goes, "I'm making art." He says, "No, young man, every television show is propaganda." That's what they're doing. So where Democrats have to understand, Kristi Noem playing dress up, this is all a television production because we are now in a social media-driven world. And if I give you the impression that I'm acting, you think I'm doing a great job.
Well,
all this is tied together, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, this show is no propaganda. So it was a piece in the Times this week about the dearth of black men. A lot of people picked it out and said it's HBCUs, but it's really across all higher ed. But black men account for 26% of students at HBCUs, and this is down from an already low percentage point of 38% in 1976. And this is according to the American Institute for Boys and Men. Take a listen. We have some sound from the assistant provost from Howard University who helps put this in context.
The campus experiences is significantly impacted by the imbalance, right? At every educational institution, we want a diversity of experience. And so when you don't have as many males in a classroom, that diversity of experiences is significantly impacted. It gets even more scary when we trace it forward, right? I think we're dealing with some really unique statistics right now. Black males, as we will dive deeper into this in a moment, are graduating at a much lower rate than black females.
And that's across all colleges.
Across all colleges, not just HBCUs. Right. And so this drop in the past decade has been seen more drastically. But the reality is this is not a Howard problem. This is not an HBCU problem. This is not a PWI problem. This is an American education problem.
So that was Calvin Hadley. He's the assistant provost at the beloved Howard University. For all the Howard people watching, HU. I'll let y'all fill in the part. But Ro, we brought in this segment listening to the men of Morehouse welcome in the incoming class at Morehouse College. And I appreciate Calvin Hadley making that point that this is not just HBCUs. This is across the board. This is a bigger problem. What are your thoughts? What do you make of this?
Earlier I said micro, macro, macro, micro. So I'm going to use this pen. This is college. College is the end of the education process. To understand why it's low here, I now got to go high school, middle school, elementary school. Which means when you roll back and you begin to look at education rates, you look at scores, you look at reading and math scores. When I earlier also said, when I criticized that father's video on social media, when he was mad at his son and his nephew who they couldn't spell, that's right there the problem. You cannot begin to assess the issue when they're high school seniors. You got to go back even further. And so we have a system, we have a community. So you have a system problem and we got a community problem. We got a system problem, a community problem, and a family problem. I just got to see too often, and let's just be real clear. A lot of times as Black folks, we don't want to admit we got a family problem, but we do. And so we have to now begin to look at this as an 18-year issue. What is happening K through 12? But as Jeffrey Canada said, we got to happening. What happening when that kid is in the womb? The average Black child is actually coming out of the womb is already behind the average white child because of prenatal care. So what we have to recognize is that even when you talk about, so what is going on elementary, middle, high? What's happening when you have the lack of Black male teachers? How do you now begin to change that conversation as well? One of the reasons, and I've had a lot of Black people getting mad at me, they're like, man, why do you support school choice? I say, I support school choice because if there is a system that allows Black people to be in control of the school, in control of the contracts, in control of the hiring, damn it, I want us to control it. Because if that school is not doing the business, Sean Hardin here in Washington, D.C., brother was a public school teacher. And again, whatever your position on charters, it doesn't matter. But he was a public school teacher and Black boys were failing in this school. Sean decided to start his own Black male charter school. The same Black boys that were failing in this school were succeeding in his school. What I say is, public schools, go to his school and say, what the hell are y'all doing to take boys who are failing here but succeeding here? If you do not confront this issue, elementary, middle school, high school, college is going to be the end result. The second piece is America, and I'm not talking about let's steer all of our Black boys to trades, but we also have to recognize that whether you Black, white, Latino, Asian, not everybody is trying to go to four-year institutions. There are also two-year schools. 65% of all jobs in America, 65% can be trained in community colleges. Mm-hmm. And so how do we now begin to say, I need you having a skill set? We had trades in the schools in the 60s. All of a sudden, in the 70s, they were there as well. A lot of Black parents were like, yo, why are y'all pushing our kids into these trades as opposed to colleges? What then happens? Trades came out of the schools. So we have a lot of people who are book smart, who can pass tests, but they have no skill set. So we have to have a complete change with education when we talk about college and we talk about technical skills. Kennedy King College in Chicago, community college, my wife had worked there. ComEd created a 9-month training program. This is for the people who climb the poles and the power lines. If you completed that 9-month training program and got hired by ComEd, the starting salary was $85,000 to $90,000.
Well, the cost to go to Howard easily exceeds $50,000 a year.
Right. So the point I'm making is when we look at these type of stories of who's in four-year schools, we also have to look at the shift in this country on how education, frankly, is becoming so expensive, is keeping people from coming out. And not just at Howard, but even at public institutions where the tuition is lower, it's economically bad for people. And they like, I can't take on that $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 debt. So it's a multi-pronged issue. But for our community, bottom line, elementary school, middle school, high school, our boys are not doing well, and we've got to confront that problem when they are especially K through 9. Because by the time they get to high school, in many cases, educationally, it's a wrap.
But, Angela, I was thinking, to your point, Ro, it's all those issues you just named, but also the lack of cultural competency in our school system, the, prison, school to prison pipeline, the way that our, young boys are over policed essentially in every part of their lives, I don't know, it's like this trail we create. And then I think about these young women on college campuses, and there are so many of them and so few Black men. And you think, what impact does this have on partnering for them in the future? If they want to have families,
it does.
What impact? Right, yep. Exactly. And so then what you have is the erosion of the Black family. You see a lot of women getting what they call spite degrees, like, is nobody there? So I'm going to, keep pursuing education. And people do that anyway because they want to. But there are some women who say, say, after a breakup, I did this. And then you have, this tiny percentage of men who are graduating school who, I'm the shiz now because it's a whole lot of yous and not a lot of me's. And I don't know. I just see this really impacting our society in an adverse way. I don't know what advice to even offer for this, because I see your point, Ro, with the pipeline, but then I think about the current landscape and what some of these young women will be facing. I don't know.
But I think what is important for us to remember in this moment is, again, the same kind of conversation we were having earlier around the disastrous impact of what they're doing in the piecemeal destruction of African American culture and Black culture and Black spaces that have traditionally been safe for us, that were designed to ensure that we could advance, whether they put a barrier in place or not. And so them going after affirmative action and going after equity programs and going after DEI is what is leading to this. So again, just because it was renamed DEI, around diversity, equity, inclusion, around the murder that we all witnessed for 9 minutes and 30 seconds on camera of George Floyd, does not mean that Black people haven't been striving for equitable outcomes for centuries, right? The father of affirmative action was a Black man named Dr. Arthur Fletcher. He was a Republican. There was a time when even the Voting Rights Act was a bipartisan bill, even introduced by John Sensenbrenner from Wisconsin when he was the chairman of the Judiciary Committee. What has happened, arguably even more so since Barack Obama was elected, is they were like, okay, we wanted y'all to overcome, but not overcome us. We wanted you all to be on, good footing, but not equal footing. We wanted to maintain. We could be in similar spaces, but keep that unequal, even if we don't continue down the road of a Plessy versus Ferguson. Now they're trying to take us back to a Plessy versus Ferguson era around accommodations, around access, around board of directors participation, around C-suite executives. They do not want us in equitable spaces. They do not want us in leadership. And so what we have to understand is that it is all up to us. And so when Roland is asking people on the ground, what are the 3 things that you care about? What we have to understand is that whatever it is that we care about, from clean drinking water to property taxes that result in a good school for our kids, whether it is how much we pay in taxes, whether it is whether or not we live in a food desert or not, it is all impacted by policy and politics. So at some point we have to understand that our participation is required if we want to see our circumstances change.
And be careful with language. Be very careful with language. There are a lot of Black people, and I've heard this I in the chats on my show. Man, the hell with this DEI. White women were benefiting anyway. Okay. All right. The DEI jobs that were created, yes, 75%, almost 80% with white folks. Totally get it. Let's take contracts. Last year, more than $700 billion was spent on the federal government. White in the MWBE category, minority women, business enterprise, the W should be WW for white women. White women dominated the category. In the Black space, we got less than 2%, but it was a record $10 billion. Now follow me right here, and let's break that apart. A lot of our people go, see, that's some bullshit. We got less than 2%. Correct, but it was a record $10 billion. So what now happens? We talk about DEI. Man, I ain't defending DEI. Well, in Wisconsin, because of the ban, $800,000 in scholarships for minority students wiped out. In Minnesota, a program to recruit and incentivize more Black teachers, now gone. So do I have white women benefited more from affirmative action? Absolutely. That is fundamentally correct. But what I am not going to do is agree with the erasure of programs that have benefited Black people, and I want to build upon that. Now, then somebody will tell me, yeah, that's just the Black elites. Well, the reality is there are a whole host of people who benefit from programs in place. I am not interested in seeing progress go away and say, well, we can get it back when we know how real hard that is. The fact of the matter is, when it comes to this education piece, if you eradicate the programs that are about creating more Black male teachers, that number is going to decrease. If you get rid of these programs about providing or incentivizing programs for Black kids who are special needs or in other areas, that's going to decrease. And so we need to be very careful when we start aligning with white conservatives whose agenda ain't got nothing to do with, oh, how do we fix the problem? Oh, no, it should be colorblind. Well, I had a state senator from Texas on, Gutierrez, who challenged a white Republican anti-DEI bill. He said, I'm sorry. He said, we have 140 plus executive directors of agencies in Texas, 2 Latino men, 2 Black men, 10 white women, and 120 white men. He said, in a state that's 61% minority.
Right.
He said, are you trying to tell me you can't find them? So and I hear this all the time, Angela and Tiffany, we are speaking about stuff, not realizing that we're actually aiding our own demise, because they go, see, so-and-so said that, so-and-so said it. They said the hell with this DEI stuff. The programs that benefit us are actually wrapped up in those same in that same umbrella. And that's the problem, because when they go away, it's going to be hell trying to get it back.
Yeah. Well, Ro, I hope people paid attention, because you dropped a lot of gems today, and I know that we have kept you a long time. So it's time, boys and girls, to get to our CTAs. I love that you kind of gave one, Ro. I feel like everything you said on this podcast has been a CTA. But pay attention to DEI. I'll go first with my CTA, and then I'll pass the mic. My CTA is, please don't be coming around here talking about sports, being a fair weather sports fan, if you didn't even watch the NCAA finals.
Oh my God,
okay?
Not the NAACP's championships.
Like, if you ain't watched with the rest of us, don't be out here talking about the teams, okay?
Bro,
congratulations.
She said the NAACP's championship.
Well, the NAACP, I happen to know, there are members of the NAACP who love the NCAA, and so I just got them confused. But my point is, congratulations to the 2 champions for the women. On the women's side, Connecticut.
Okay, good.
On the men's side, it was Houston was defeated by the Florida Gators.
Yes, that's right.
Thank you. So if you're going to talk about sports, please come correct and know what you know. That's my only CTA. Tiff, that's all I got.
When you come to Seattle, sis, I'm going to have you come to see Mama and Papa Rye.
Please.
Because in Eddie Rye's house, like, it's not an option. Like, you watch his sports. The only thing I won't fool with him on is watching the Mariners, especially not now. Mariners, y'all really need some damn help. But yeah, you gonna have to come watch.
I'm down.
That.
I
Eddie
would
Rye
love to
plays
watch
the
Papa
whole
Rye.
game. He plays the entire game.
Well, that's
like
how you're supposed to do it.
He coaches and he's playing the whole game. So he's worn out. Like, he's like, what y'all doing? Pass the ball. He jumping. He literally.
My man.
Yeah, so Ro, you could come too, but Tiff needs to come so that she learns.
I've been
the
pressed
game.
to come. I've been pressed
Yes.
to come.
Okay,
I would love to
we
watch it. Papa Rye, hit me up. I would love to come watch a
Yes.
game with you. We have a lot of
Yes.
things we could do together. So
Yeah,
you just let me
she
know.
She wants to be high with my dad too. She wanted to do
She
the weed
needs the
thing.
See, I
She
wouldn't
needs
even
the
try to put
sports-
you out there, Papa Rye.
She needs the sports drop squad.
He does it for glaucoma, medical reasons.
Okay. Well, I'm going to do the
anyway.
sports Glock squad.
Okay, yes. Well, we're excited about that. Roland sounds like he's signing up for a training too. And with that, my CTA is this. It's very simple. SAVE Act is supposed to get voted on this week. Please make sure you call these members who are silly birds who think that this is a good idea to prevent a woman from utilizing her birth certificate if it has a different last name on it from her marriage license, and now therefore her driver's license. She would be prohibited from voting in some instances. We don't want to give that type of discretion to states or these feds, because these feds move a little different. Also, I want you guys, since you like to petition your government and call 202-224-3121 to reach your members, I also want you to blow up Roland Martin. And here's why. Roland is running a great program. Roland is, we call him Big Bro Roro often. He can be a little stubborn, and Roland has not yet signed up to participate on the State of the People Power Tour. So I want you to text him. I want you to email him. I want you to be in his. I'm not done. I'm not done. On his YouTube comments, I want you in his Instagram comments. I want him every time he's saying something, be like, Roland, where you at? Why you not do the State of the People Power Tour yet? Roland's going to tell you it's very expensive to move his team, and he was supposed to check dates. Let me tell y'all, he was checking dates 3 weeks ago. We've been having this conversation for 3 weeks. So go ahead and tell Roland that he's missing out. And since he likes to talk to Black people on the ground, you want to see him in your city. Blow his ass up.
I
God
like it. That's the best CTA. What you got, Ro? What's your
Look,
CTA?
he about to do something smart. Look at him.
I already see him on his phone scrolling. I don't know what he about to do.
He's trying to pull a receipt. He gonna end up wrong with his feelings hurt. So
and whatever receipt you pull, have a call to action for the folks,
be wrong. Whatever it is, it's gonna be wrong.
Well, give us your call to action.
He's gonna see that he told me he was gonna check his schedule and he would hit me back tomorrow.
No.
Remember, I told you, I bet you $5.
Well,
no, I actually hit you back. First of all.
Oh, now he was texting me back right now.
First of all, let's be real clear, y'all. Angela sent me a text on Monday, March 24th at 7:34 p.m.
Okay, so that's 2 weeks.
With regards to the tour, my response was, what tour? She asked me to sign up for something. I'm like, what tour? Then she tells me the tour, and Roland says, I don't see dates. She sent me the dates. Roland responds to Angela, most of these dates are weekdays, and I have to do my show.
Do your show from anywhere else like you would do it any other time.
There are significant costs for me to bring my team on the road.
See,
Costs are real. And so,
raise money. You raise money for your show. Come on.
For folks who are in Raleigh, North Carolina, Roland will be broadcasting from Raleigh, a St. Augustine's Town Hall on Friday, April 11th. I'm doing this without Angela's permission.
These ain't the same dates.
Is, we take the show on the ground. We do these things.
You guys remember my call to action. Ignore this filibustering nonsense.
That's great.
What is your call to action?
We want you to support Roland's other programs. Tell Roland to be in coalition with Black people.
I'm trying to tell you, when you're moving 6 people around, it ain't that simple. So
get on the bus. Get on the bus.
You're more than willing to send a check and money order to PO Box 57196, Washington D.C. 20037-0196. You can also, of course, to help pay for Angela wanting me to be on this tour. You can get our shirt too. Don't blame me and vote for the Black woman at blackstarnetwork.com. Here's my call to action, and it is really basic and fundamental. It is really repeating what I said earlier.
And all the dates aren't during the week, by the way, because you lying, spreading misinformation.
85% of them are during the week.
It's not true. It's a lie.
Okay, all right. So don't make me have to go back to the text. Okay, so here is my call to action, which I laid out earlier. A lot of you are despondent. A lot of you are depressed. A lot of you are still grieving. I don't know. My show's Roland Martin Unfiltered, so let me just go ahead and see it. Get the over it. Vice President Kamala Harris lost on November 5th.
Whoa.
Wow.
I was focused on the Wisconsin State Supreme Court race on November 8th. Black people turned out 37% of the early votes in Louisiana, defeated those 4 MAGA constitutional amendments. Tashara Jones lost the mayor's race in St. Louis, significant Black population. She lost, her opponent got 64% of the vote. We didn't turn out. There's a mayor's race in New Orleans, and the Black candidate could very well not win that. You've got gubernatorial races happening. In Virginia, if they hold a House, Don Scott maintains Speaker of the House, first Black speaker. I need people to be focused on what's next. Stop talking about 2028. Stop talking about 2026. Focus on what's happening in 2025, and then build to 2026. But we as Black people, if we vote at 70% of our capacity, to Angela's point, we win, and now we can impact policy. But y'all, everything you care about, economics, education, healthcare, it all has a direct tie into politics. So the vote absolutely matters. But when the voting is over, I need you to still be engaged and go into those city council meetings, school board meetings. We need Black people in the process. The couch cannot be an option.
Love that, Ro.
Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you,
Y'all,
Ro.
y'all blow Roland up. Blow him up. Okay?
Go ahead, blow me up.
Thank you.
But no, make sure you tune into Roland Martin Unfiltered
Yes.
every day. If you guys missed the show, he is 9 times out of 10 still live on X or on another
It's
platform.
not live. We restream it, but yes.
Okay, but it's called live on the platform. Relax, man. Anyway, make sure that you tune in. Roland
no,
always.
Black people are like,
Roland,
like,
I'm
yo,
trying to do a call to action to
work-
send people to the
you work
platform.
your
Be
people,
quiet.
You work your people too hard. It's 3 a.m. I'm like, we're not awake.
Roland.
Calm down.
I'm trying to tell the people. Anyway, it will show up live. Just make sure you catch this restream, the broadcast, all the things. Very informative. Always has great panelists and guests. Make sure that you tune in. And one of my favorite things about Ro, even though, y'all, we really do fight like family. My favorite thing about him is that he will absolutely always be standing up for Black folks, even when it's unpopular.
Yes.
So, Roland, we thank you for your commitment to the culture,
Appreciate
even when it's hard.
Thank you, Ro.
And you have something you're supposed to read on the way out,
Ro,
so we don't
I
get in
just
trouble with
wanted
Nick.
to thank you also because, as y'all know, Ro saved us during our live coverage of the DNC.
Yes.
Angela and I have talked about this. We truly love you, Ro, and I really respect and admire what you have built and all that you have
Absolutely.
meant to the
Appreciate it.
culture, like Angela said. And it is something to know that the day that you join the ancestors, because Ro is always telling us who
Oh,
joined the
my God.
ancestors.
Tim, don't kill him at the
I ain't
end of the
killing Ro.
program.
Yeah,
but-
no, kid. You're right.
That's-
Thank you,
what made
Angela.
my heart drop
Damn.
to the floor.
We
Damn,
won't
like,
go
really?
around. But this is what I say. The day that you join the ancestors, Ro, there will be
She gonna
millions of
reiterate it.
people who can say they will have a Roland Martin story. They learned about something
That's
from
true.
Ro. And the same way that you broadcast all these funerals of people, like you will have that same love
Oh, my
many
gosh.
years from now. I wish we had an
Tim,
organ to start playing.
Let me
I
just
wish
say,
we had an organ.
don't play the organ.
Uh,
I was just
Damn,
going
man,
to say.
tell your stories now. Shit,
Well,
don't wait.
that's what I was just getting ready to say. In true Scorpio fashion, Ro,
Yes.
I think one of the most telling lessons from what Tip just shared is one thing we can learn to do as a people is to give people their flowers, their credit, their just due, and our gratitude while they are living. So,
Yes.
Roland, we are so grateful that you joined us
said that
alive
because,
today.
but
I
Angela,
know.
You scared the shit out of
But
Angela.
can-
We like,
No,
I
but
know,
can
you
I
know
just
I got
say,
anxiety. I was just like,
anytime
"Ooh, Jesus."
somebody drives me crazy, I always think, what if they're not here? Like imagine this is the last time you'll see that person. Imagine
If
it's the
it's
last
getting
time.
worse, this is worse than the
Okay,
Gators
all right.
Houston
this
situation.
nigga ain't
She's
lying.
like,
What is
This
this?
is
Let's
like-
stick to sports.
She's
This
like,
is why I stick to
Roland's
sports.
on my nerves. Now, if this Negro dropped dead right
Bro,
now,
you're
how
not
would
on
I
my
feel?
nerves. You're not on my nerves. I'm
We all
just
get
trying
on
to
each
pour
other's nerves.
love
It's fine.
into you, Ro. That's my only
Lord,
point. I
Lord
want
have
people to
mercy.
know
We'll
all
just
the
try
work
this.
you do.
We just called to say we love you, and
And
we
the-
mean it from the
bottom
of our hearts.
Well,
I appreciate it.
Hearts.
I appreciate it. And
You
the
don't
next
fight us for that.
the next time I do this, I'm gonna have me a flower wall behind me.
Oh, that's a good idea, Ro. Let me give you your flowers. Hold on, let me take one
Angela
out.
literally giving Ro. While Angela giving Ro her flowers, I just want to remind
Lord
y'all who
have
are
mercy.
listening, please, please,
Y'all-
please be sure to subscribe to Native Land Pod. We have crossed the 100,000
This is the best I could do.
subscriber. Oh Lord, that flaccid flower that Angela is waving for those who are listening and not watching.
It's fake.
But yes, thank you. And but be sure to subscribe to our YouTube Native Land Pod. We crossed 100,000. We're trying to cross 200,000 a lot sooner.
We trying to be like
than
Ro.
it took. Yeah, we want trying to get Roland Martin numbers.
Here you go, Ro.
There you go,
Here
Ro. You
Ro.
got some flowers. And
Are you looking?
be sure, please.
Ro,
Yeah,
you're
I'm
not
looking.
looking at the
All
flower.
right. So for the folks who are
I'm
not
looking.
watching this, I want to
giving
make
you your
sure that you
flowers.
all, yep, Ro got his flowers. I want to make sure that you all know new episodes of Native Land drop every Thursday and Friday, with solo pods Monday and Tuesday. If you want more, do please check out our homegrown homegirl, Jamel, Machete member, Jamel Hill, Spolitics,
Yes.
and Off the Cup, the other shows on Reason Choice Media Network. And don't forget to follow us on social media. You can also subscribe to our text or email list on our website at nativelandpod.com. And please rate and review us. Holler at us on Apple Podcasts, or iHeart Podcast, wherever you get your podcast. Rate and review us, because that is how we are able to function. And hopefully one day when we grow up, we'll be able to have our own little Native Land Pod studio, like Roland Martin Unfiltered.
He just need to give us a little office. He just need to give us a little office.
Give me an office over there.
Roland, you better come on this tour. You better look at the weekend dates and come on. I'm gonna have these people blow you up. I'm gonna have Mel call
money,
you.
bro. I'm just trying to
have
squat.
everybody call you. I'm gonna have Judy call you. I'm gonna have everybody call you. You about to get blown up today.
He's only gonna sublet in your office. I'm about to just squat. I'm gonna have my mail. If I have mail delivered there, don't that mean I live there?
Like the white people do. What are you talking about?
Exactly. I discovered the studio.
Welcome home, y'all. Welcome home, y'all.
Rogo come in and record. I'll be like, welcome home, bro.
No, Tiff, you know that video they show on social all the time where the white lady comes on, she goes, surprise, 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 surprise.
Yeah, y'all gonna have a surprise. Security's gonna be like, I don't see your name on here.
I forgot to tell y'all, there are 572 days left until midterm elections, and let us hope and pray that we actually have fair elections when it comes time for midterms. Native Land Pod is a production of iHeartRadio in partnership with Reason Choice Media. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows. Welcome home, y'all. We'll holla.
Thank you for joining the natives. Intentional with the info on all of the latest. Rod Gillum and Cross connected to the statements that you leave on our socials. Thank you sincerely for the patience. Reason for your choice is clear. We're so grateful. Took the oath to execute roles. Yeah, faithful. Preserve, defend, and protect the truth, even if painful. Welcome home to all of the natives. We thank you.